Malachi Brooks stood on the hilltop at sunrise, his breath catching as 50 Comanche warriors crested the ridge, their war paint gleaming like fire in the morning light. Their horses snorted, hooves churning the dust, weapons glinting with lethal intent. Just 12 hours earlier, Malachi had no inkling that saving one dying girl would thrust his solitary world to the brink of destruction. The evening before, Malachi was checking his cattle near the creek when a faint whimper cut through the sound of flowing water. For a man who'd lived alone for 8 years, any human sound was jarring, but this was different, desperate, fragile, the sound of someone slipping toward death. He found her behind a cluster of mesquite bushes, a Comanche girl, barely 16, blood pooling beneath her from a bullet wound in her shoulder. Fever burned through her small frame, her breathing shallow and ragged. Malachi's first instinct was to walk away. Helping a Comanche in these parts could mean death for a white man. But her face stopped him, young, vulnerable, her fingers clutching a wooden pendant with the same desperation his daughter Sarah used to grip her doll when scared. Sarah would have been this girl's age if she'd lived. Kneeling beside her, Malachi checked the wound. The bullet had passed through, but infection was setting in fast. She'd be dead by morning without help. He scanned the empty landscape. He was likely the only person within 50 miles who could save her. Against his better judgment, he lifted her fragile body, her weight barely registering, and carried her to his cabin. Her eyes fluttered open briefly, dark, frightened, too much like Sarah's in her final moments, before she slipped back into unconsciousness. Malachi knew he was inviting trouble, but as he laid her on his bed and began cleaning the wound, he couldn't regret it. He worked through the night, using skills his late wife had taught him, cleaning, stitching, fighting the fever with cool water and whiskey. The girl drifted in and out, murmuring in Comanche, words he couldn't understand. By dawn, her fever broke. She would live. But as Malachi stepped outside to check his horses, he froze. A line of warriors stretched across the horizon, moving toward his land with deliberate menace. Their war paint and weapons left no doubt, they weren't just looking for the girl, they were coming for him. Inside, the girl's eyes snapped open as Malachi re-entered. She tried to scramble away, but her wounded shoulder buckled, sending her crashing back with a cry. "Easy," Malachi said, hands raised to show he meant no harm. "You're safe." Her terrified expression told him safety was a lie. A Comanche girl in a white man's cabin was anything but safe, especially with 50 warriors closing in. She spoke rapidly, pointing to the door, her voice urgent. Malachi caught one word, "Father." Then she said something that chilled him, her tone conveying danger even without translation. He peered through the window shutters. The warriors had stopped 200 yards away, forming a line across his property. In the center, one man sat taller, clearly their leader, likely her father. "They think I took you," Malachi muttered. "They think I'm holding you prisoner." The girl struggled to sit up, and Malachi helped her, propping her against the headboard. Her beauty was fierce, untamed, her intelligent eyes piercing through him, now wide with fear. She pointed to herself. "Ayanna." Then to him, a question in her gaze. "Malachi," he answered, his voice rough from disuse. Ayanna nodded, struggling for English. "My father," she switched to Comanche, speaking faster, more desperately. Malachi didn't need a translation. The chief, likely Takakota, had been searching for his daughter all night. Finding her here would look like kidnapping, or worse. Her survival wouldn't matter to warriors who'd seen too many white men harm their people. A deep voice boomed outside, commanding, in Comanche. Ayanna's face paled. "He says you have 1 hour. Bring me out, or they burn everything." Malachi's chest tightened. 1 hour to explain this to warriors who distrusted him, in a language he didn't speak, with a girl who could barely stand. But Ayanna's next words made his blood run cold. Grabbing his wrist, her fingers dug in as she whispered, not my father." "What?" Malachi pressed, her hand touched her wounded shoulder, mimicking a shooting gesture. "He did this." The world tilted. The chief wasn't here to rescue his daughter, he was here to finish what he'd started. Why? Malachi asked. Ayana's eyes filled with tears, but her voice held steady. I saw him kill white family. Woman, children. He say I tell no one, but she touched her pendant. I cannot stay quiet. Malachi felt sick. This wasn't a rescue mission, it was an execution. Takakota had shot his own daughter to silence her about a massacre, and now he tracked her here to finish it. The 50 warriors outside weren't just hunting a missing girl, they were hunting a witness who could destroy them all. That's why you were alone, Malachi said, understanding dawning. You were running from him. Ayana nodded, tears streaming down her face. I thought I could reach fort, tell soldiers. She gestured at her shoulder, the wound that had nearly killed her. The voice outside boomed again, closer. Malachi looked through the shutters. Some warriors had advanced, their patience thinning. What's he saying now? He asked. Ayana listened, her face growing paler. He tells them you shot me. Says you took me to hurt me. They believe him. Of course they did. Takakota was their chief. Why would they trust a white stranger over him? Malachi realized he wasn't just sheltering a wounded girl, he was harboring the only witness to a war crime, with the perpetrator and his army at his door. There's something else, Ayana whispered, her voice barely audible. The family he killed. They were not alone. Malachi's heart hammered. What do you mean? Other families. Takakota, she struggled with English, then spoke rapidly in Comanche, gesturing frantically. Her terror told him everything. This wasn't one massacre but multiple murders, and Ayana was the only one who could expose it. The chief's voice grew louder, horses moving, weapons readying. Ayana grabbed Malachi's wrist again. He knows you heard me talking. He knows you know. The sound of hoofbeats circled the cabin, cutting off escape. Through the window, Malachi saw warriors positioning themselves, near the barn, the well, everywhere. Ayana struggled to stand, clutching the bedpost. I go out, she said, voice weak but resolute. I tell them you not hurt me. They'll kill you the moment you step outside, Malachi said. Then me. Better than both die here. Malachi shook his head. Ayana, if Takakota's killing families and covering it up, he can't let either of us live. We're witnesses. The truth hung between them like a noose. A younger voice called out in broken English, white man. Chief Takakota want talk. Come out, bring girl. We know, hurt you. Malachi almost laughed at the absurdity, no harm, with 50 warriors surrounding them. But the voice held uncertainty. Ayana whispered, that's Koshi. My cousin. Good man. He not know what Takakota do. An idea formed, desperate, likely suicidal, but their only chance. How many know the truth about Takakota's crimes? Just him, maybe one or two others. The rest, Ayana shook her head. They think he protects our people. That was their shot. If most warriors didn't know, they might listen to reason. Malachi grabbed his rifle from the rack, 6 shots against 50. Poor odds. What you do? Ayana asked, fear in her voice. Something stupid, Malachi replied. Maybe stupid enough to work. Ayana grabbed his arm. They kill you. He looked at her, this brave girl who reminded him of Sarah, the daughter he'd failed 8 years ago. He wouldn't fail again. I'm telling them the truth, about what Takakota did, what you saw. Some might believe me. Ayana's voice dropped to a whisper, each word a blow. The families, one had children. Little ones. Takakota, he killed them himself. Said soldiers did it. Her voice broke. 3 children. 2 boys, 1 girl, maybe 6. She called for her mama. Malachi's knees nearly gave out. Children. Takakota hadn't just murdered families, he'd slaughtered innocents and blamed the army to fuel more violence. How many children? He asked, dreading the answer. 3, Ayana said, tears falling. He keeps scalps, hidden in his lodge. Shows warriors, says it proves soldiers kill our people. Rage surged in Malachi's chest. Those warriors weren't evil, they were manipulated, their grief weaponized by a monster. If I could prove it, he said, make them see what Takakota is. They never believe white man over chief. Ayana said, what if it's you? Malachi pointed to her pendant. That belonged to one of the children, didn't it? Her face went white. How you know? Because you're wearing their blood on your conscience, like I've worn my family's. His voice softened. You were running because Takakota made you take it, to implicate you. The war cries outside grew louder. Takakota was riling his warriors. Ayana translated, tears streaming, he says I'm probably dead. Malachi had one last question. Can you ride? Ayana tested her shoulder, wincing. Little bit. We're not talking. We're going to Fort Davidson, 20 miles east. He handed her a rifle. If we get there, you tell your story. They'll investigate, find those scalps. Ayana's eyes widened. 20 miles, with 50 warriors. We've got an advantage. Malachi pulled aside a wall panel, revealing a tunnel. Dug this during Apache raids. Leads to a hidden corral in the ravine. The tunnel was narrow, dark. My horses are there, he said. We'll be 5 miles out before they know. Even if we reach fort, Ayana said, who believe Comanche girl? Captain Morrison. I sold supplies to the Hendersons 2 weeks ago, man, woman, 3 kids, heading to Oregon. They stopped at the fort. Morrison knew them. If you show him that pendant, he'll investigate. The front door splintered. Go, Malachi urged, pushing Ayana into the tunnel. He grabbed ammunition and followed, the cabin filling with angry voices as he sealed the entrance. They crawled through darkness, dirt falling around them. Ayana's shoulder bled, but she kept moving. Then she froze, Takakota's voice, too close. They found the tunnel, she whispered. Malachi didn't answer. Gunshots echoed from the cabin, followed by shouts. Ayana emerged into the corral, finding 2 saddled horses. She turned, but Malachi wasn't there. More gunshots. Her heart sank, either he was dead or trapped. She gripped the rifle, torn. She could ride for the fort, expose Takakota with the pendant. But Malachi had saved her. Footsteps echoed in the tunnel. Aiming the rifle, she saw a bloodied figure emerge, Malachi, grazed by a bullet. Thought I told you to ride, he said. Thought you were dead, she replied, close enough. He'd collapsed part of the tunnel, buying them minutes. They mounted the horses and rode hard through the ravine, emerging onto open plains. Pursuit followed, war cries and hoofbeats. A dust cloud appeared ahead. Blue uniforms. Malachi shouted. Cavalry patrol. 12 soldiers, led by Captain Morrison, formed a defensive line. Hold your fire. Malachi called. This girl has information on the Henderson murders. She's a witness to war crimes. Morrison signaled for a medic. State your business. Ayana, swaying in her saddle, spoke. Chief Takakota killed the Hendersons. I saw it. That's a serious accusation, Morrison said, eyeing the pendant Malachi pointed to. That's Emily Henderson's. She showed it to me. Ayana continued, he has scalps in his lodge, says soldiers did it. Uses their deaths to start wars. Koshi, the young warrior, rode forward. Captain, my chief says the white man stole our medicine woman's daughter. No, Ayana said. Malachi saved me. Takakota shot me to silence me. Koshi spoke to Ayana in Comanche, his face shifting from confusion to horror. He rode back, arguing with the warriors. Takakota, enraged, charged alone, aiming for Ayana. Morrison's rifle cracked, dropping him. "You're under arrest for murder and conspiracy," Morrison said, standing over Takakota. "We'll find those scalps." 3 weeks later, Ayana testified at Fort Davidson. The scalps were found, Takakota's lies exposed. Justice came, but trust between tribes and army would take years to mend. Malachi never returned to his cabin. Some said he went east, others saw him aiding travelers. Ayana knew the truth. Some acts of compassion change everything, for both the giver and the saved, when the stakes are highest.